Welcome to today's deep dive. You actually sent us a pretty wild stack of sources to look through today.
Yeah, I mean, eclectic is probably an understatement here.
Right, because our mission today is to break down this historic 2026 World Cup round of 16 match, England's unbelievable 3-2 victory over Mexico.
A game that really had just about everything.
Exactly. So to understand the tactical brilliance and, the sheer chaos of it, we're looking at match reports, tactical breakdowns, an English language learning transcript called FairPlayTalk, and this is the weird part, a podcast script writing guide from the Idaho Law Foundation.
Yeah, I have to admit, when I first saw that script writing guide in the stack, I honestly thought our files got mixed up.
I thought the exact same thing. But, when you look at how this specific 90-minute match unfolded, it kind of defies the usual randomness of live sports.
It really does.
It played out like this perfectly paced, scripted drama. So we're actually going to use the structural rules of that Idaho Law Foundation podcast guide to break down the narrative of the game. That way, you're equipped with all the context you need for, the proverbial water cooler conversation.
What's fascinating here is that you really can map the tactical flow of a football match directly onto the structure of a good story.
Right. Which brings us to steps 1 and 2 of the podcast guide, which are basically about understanding your parameters, defining your audience, and establishing the setting.
Right, setting the stage.
Exactly. So what were the parameters of this specific World Cup?
Well, if we look at that FairPlayTalk transcript, which is literally an ESL worksheet,
Yeah.
they do a great job of setting the macro scene. I mean, this is a completely unique World Cup.
Oh, totally unprecedented scale.
Exactly. We're talking 48 teams, 104 matches spread across 3 host countries, the USA, Canada, and Mexico.
It's just a logistical monster.
Right. And the final is locked in for July 19th at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, with this record-breaking $50 million in prize money on the line.
So that's the macro level, but a good script relies on a really specific setting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the micro parameters of this match, the setting, is the legendary Estadio Azteca in Mexico City.
Which is basically a fortress.
Yeah. I mean, the historical weight here is insane. Mexico had only lost 2 competitive games at this venue in their entire history.
And that's not even mentioning the psychological baggage for England.
Oh, the ghosts of 1986.
Exactly. The hand of God. Diego Maradona. That all happened on this exact pitch.
So the setting is incredibly hostile, and the tactical stakes, according to the Tactical Brief and the World Soccer Talk sources, are just as high.
Yeah, because Mexico came into this knockout round having not conceded a single goal in the entire tournament.
Which is wild.
It is. They were relying on this incredibly disciplined 4-4-2 deep block paired with, really explosive passing on the counter.
Right. And then you have England, managed by Thomas Tuchel, who also hadn't conceded a goal. They dominated qualifying with 0 goals allowed and a +22 differential, running this high-intensity 4-2-3-1 pressing machine.
A literal unstoppable force meeting an immovable object.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second. Because if Mexico's defense is this literal fortress that hasn't conceded a goal all month, how exactly does a team like England even begin to break that down? Especially at, 7,200 feet of altitude.
It's a great question because pressing at that altitude usually just drains your legs in 20 minutes.
Right, it sounds like tactical suicide.
But Tuchel recognized Mexico's one glaring weakness. They struggle to build out from the back when they're put under heavy targeted pressure. Yeah, their keeper isn't great with his feet. So if a team has the pace and the physicality to press high, which this England team absolutely does, cracks are going to appear in that deep block.
Okay, so building on that tactical vulnerability, let's move to step 4 of the podcast guide, which is to create a working outline.
Right, establishing a strong main story with facts and surprise moments.
Exactly. So let's look at the opening act. How did this game actually kick off?
Well, it almost fell apart for England immediately. Literally in the first minute, Declan Rice picks up a yellow card.
Wait, minute 1.
For 60 seconds. Which is a nightmare when your whole game plan is built on aggressive pressing. He suddenly can't make a cynical foul to stop a counterattack without getting sent off.
Oh, wow. So he has to play the next 89 minutes on eggshells.
Exactly. But this is where England's structure actually worked. Jude Bellingham instantly recognized the danger and started dropping deeper to cover for Rice, doing the dirty work.
Which allowed the press to keep functioning.
Right. Marguerite stepped up and won possession 3 times really early on, and Anthony Gordon was just absolutely terrorizing the Mexican right side.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because you need that surprise moment, right?
The twist.
The twist. It's the 36th minute. The Azteca is deafening. Bukayo Saka puts in this cross, and Jude Bellingham, who, like you said, was just back there defending, makes this late surging run and hits a diving header. 1-0 England.
And you can literally feel the shock in the stadium. Mexico hadn't conceded all tournament, and suddenly they're behind.
And it shattered them.
Yeah.
Because exactly 98 seconds later...
Just a minute and a half.
Right, 98 seconds. Gordon forces a turnover from the high press. The ball spills to Bellingham. He plays a quick 1-2 with Harry Kane and slots it home. 2-0.
2 goals in under 2 minutes.
The Azteca was completely, utterly silenced. It was eerie.
But, good story needs conflict. You can't just have your protagonist coast to the finish line.
No, you need a reversal.
Right. And just before halftime, the altitude and the pressure finally force an English mistake, as Riconsa misjudges a headed clearance.
Just a tiny miscalculation.
Yeah, but it falls perfectly to Julian Quinones, who just rockets the ball past Jordan Pickford. 2-1.
And suddenly the crowd is back in it. The tension is perfectly set for the second half.
Which brings us nicely to step 7 of the script guide.
Right, adding tension and real voices and making complex information relatable. And honestly, the second half of this match delivered a plot twist so wild. I mean, it really felt like a Hollywood script.
It was absolute chaos.
It's the 54th minute. England's right back, Jarell Quansah, goes into a challenge, studs up on Jesus Gallardo, and the referee pulls out a straight red card.
Which changes the entire geometry of the game.
England is down to 10 men in literally the most hostile environment possible, clinging to a 1-goal lead.
And Tuchel has to instantly throw his whiteboard out the window. They drop into this desperate deep block just to survive.
But then we get this frantic 10-minute sequence that is just, it's unbelievable. Gordon gets loose on a counter and actually draws a foul from the Mexican goalkeeper, Raul Rangel, inside the box.
It's a massive error from the keeper.
So Harry Kane steps up and calmly converts the penalty to make it 3-1.
Which, we should point out, is a historic moment in itself. That was Kane's 14th career World Cup goal. Yeah, it tied him with West Germany's Gerd Müller. And it was his 6th goal of just this specific tournament.
That's incredible. But, like any protagonist in a drama, there's a fatal flaw.
Right.
Because England is down a man, Kane is forced to track back and defend deep in his own box. And just minutes after scoring his penalty, he puts in a late challenge on Brian Gutierrez.
You hate to see it from your striker.
The referee points to the spot again. Raul Jimenez steps up, does his classic stutter step, and scores.
It's 3-2. The cushion is instantly gone.
Going back to that Emma Talk source for a second, they used this match to teach English vocabulary. And the words they highlighted were thriller, knockout, and nerve-wracking.
Very appropriate vocabulary.
Right. I mean, this match was the literal dictionary definition of nerve-wracking.
And if we want to talk about step 8 of the podcast guide, painting a picture with sound and connecting emotionally, the final minutes of this match are the perfect example of that.
Oh, the statistical siege.
Siege is the right word. Look at the numbers from the final 20 minutes plus the 11 agonizing minutes of stoppage time.
11 minutes.
Yeah. Mexico had 62.6% possession. They recognized England was packed in tight, so they just started exploiting the flanks. They rained down 34 crosses into the English box.
34 crosses in basically half an hour.
Compared to England's 4. It was just pure attack versus defense. Attacking players like Gordon, Bellingham, and Kane were involved in 42 one-on-one defensive duels.
Strikers playing like center backs out of sheer desperation.
Exactly. Throwing their bodies in front of everything.
To really connect emotionally with what that felt like, I want to transport you, the listener, out of Mexico and over to Manchester, England.
Because the contrast there is just amazing.
Right. We have this vivid report from The Guardian. It's past 4:00 a.m. because of the time difference. You're in these massive, sweaty warehouse fan parks, Freight Island and Depot Mayfield.
Just packed with thousands of exhausted fans.
Exactly. And The Guardian interviewed the scaffolding boss, Callum Darcy. He's standing there in the dark watching this 10-man team desperately defend 34 crosses, and he literally turns to his crew and gives them until noon off.
That's amazing.
He just knew nobody was going to be in any condition to build scaffolding after watching that.
Those little human details that make the story, right?
Yeah. And the crowd wasn't just locals either. There were international students from Indonesia and folks from the Philippines who had just adopted the English team and totally embraced the culture of the moment.
Drawn into the collective anxiety.
Exactly. And when that final whistle finally blew after 11 minutes of stoppage time, The Guardian said the roar was loud enough to wake the entire city of Manchester. Plastic pints of beer flying everywhere, people hugging strangers, and the DJ instantly blasting Oasis's Wonderwall.
The ultimate release of tension.
So if we summarize this whole unscripted script, England went into the Azteca, slayed their 1986 demons, broke down a Mexican defense that hadn't conceded all tournament, and survived playing a man down at altitude to win 3-2.
A truly monumental performance.
So looking ahead, where does the story go from here?
Well, the narrative continues in the quarterfinals. England is heading to Miami Gardens, Florida.
Back to sea level, but dealing with the humidity.
Right. And they'll be facing Norway, who just pulled off a massive shock by eliminating Brazil 2-1.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, thanks to an absolute masterclass
Yeah.
and a brace from Erling Haaland. So England's exhausted defense has to somehow prepare for him next.
Which is terrifying. But, before we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, something that builds on everything we've talked about today.
Okay, let's hear it.
We always talk about the physical toll, right? Playing 40-plus minutes with only 10 men at high altitude, absorbing 34 crosses. The natural assumption is that their legs will be completely gone for the quarterfinals.
The sports science would certainly agree with that.
But what about the psychological armor a team builds when they survive something like that?
That's a great point.
Right. Does winning the most grueling, hostile match of your lives exhaust you for the next round? Or does it make you feel invincible? Like, if you can survive the ghosts of the Azteca with 10 men, maybe the fatigue doesn't matter. Maybe you just feel like destiny's on your side.
I guess we'll find out in Miami. That tension between physical limits and mental momentum is exactly why we watch the game.
Beautifully said. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring your sources, keep questioning the tactics, and keep learning. We'll catch you on the next one.